And from CBS News headquarters in New York, this is the CBS Evening News with Dan Rather.
Good evening. Just yesterday, President Reagan chided congressional critics for being so quick to jump on the budget he submitted the day before. He challenged them to propose an alternative, saying, "Put up or shut up." Today, a Democratic senator did propose an alternate plan, and the White House quickly rejected it. More on the battle of the budget from Phil Jones on Capitol Hill and Bill Plant at the White House.
Here at the Capitol, attacking the Reagan budget became so politically fashionable today that even Democratic leader Byrd decided to make a rare television appearance to announce details of a letter he had sent to the president asking that the 1983 budget be withdrawn.
I did this because the budget is unrealistic in its assumptions, in its forecasts, in its predictions, and is viewed as being such by Republicans and Democrats.
And on the Senate floor, the talk was all on alternatives to Reaganomics. A year ago, Democratic Senator Hollings couldn't get anybody to listen to his ideas, but today, when he rose to propose a freeze on 1983 government spending at current levels, Republican leader Baker stood to say he had seldom heard a speech with greater substance. Interesting and worthwhile ideas, said Baker. Democrat Biden, he liked everything but the freeze on Social Security cost of living increases. And Republican Caston, he didn't like the idea of eliminating this year's scheduled increase of the Reagan tax cut to 10%, but he agreed with everything else.
I think that something positive is going to come out of this, and especially with today's bipartisan support, I think it's going to make it even more likely.
And Hollings seemed almost stunned by all this bipartisan attention.
On both sides of the aisle, we feel like we're in serious trouble. And to come forward with general dissembling and going off in all directions puts us in the budget process in deep trouble. The ox is in the ditch.
Tomorrow, some Republicans from the Hill will meet with the president. Their message to Mr. Reagan, his proposed deficits are too high. So don't fight too hard because there is no consensus favoring the Reagan budget as submitted. Phil Jones, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
Yesterday, Mr. Reagan told critics of his budget to put up or shut up. And now the two of them have put up their own proposals. The president's men still seem to be saying, shut up. Treasury Secretary Donald Regan scoffed at the Hollings plan.
Well, it's no compromise as far as we're concerned. I think it's rather ridiculous. When confronted with a problem, the senator is obviously responding by saying, let's tax America more so we don't have to cut any more.
So you've totally ruled out this Hollings plan?
As far as I'm concerned, it's nothing, no.
Said White House Deputy Press Secretary Larry Speaks, Hollings hasn't really put up. His plan is not very fleshed out, and its simplicity masks some very fundamental problems, especially in the areas of taxation, entitlements, and defense. Budget Director David Stockman was ready with a denunciation of Senator Byrd's plan as totally impractical.
Rather than come in with Plan B, C, D, and E, seems to me it would be better for everybody to focus on what we have proposed, and if they do, they will find there aren't very many options available. The alternatives are few and far between.
The president had no immediate reaction to either plan, but at a reception for women appointed to his administration, Mr. Reagan reaffirmed his belief in his own program.
I believe in the course we've charted for America, and with your help, we're going to stick to it.
That doesn't mean that there won't be compromise, but the White House isn't about to begin giving ground yet in what is certain to be a long and difficult battle. Bill Plant, CBS News, the White House.
White House aide Joseph Canzeri resigned tonight after publication of details of highly favorable loans he received to buy a home in Georgetown. The New York Times reported Canzeri, a former assistant to the late Vice President Nelson Rockefeller, borrowed $200,000 each from Lawrence Rockefeller and from a California developer. The interest rates reportedly were far below those prevailing at the time, and the terms required no immediate repayments. Canzeri said tonight he resigned because he felt he could no longer effectively do his job.
Denture wearers speak out about denture adhesives.
Hate them all.
I love mine.
What? Pastes are gooey and powders are gritty.
Not my adhesive. I use Liquid Dentrol, the first liquid denture adhesive.
A liquid?
You bet. Dentrol is smooth without all that goo and grit, and it flows on in a thin stream that holds so comfortably you almost forget you're wearing dentures. Now what do you have to say?
I'm in love with liquid Dentrol denture adhesive.
For a comfortable hold.
I have a headache, and it's just like a consistent pounding.
Would you try extra strength Tylenol? You can't buy a more potent pain reliever without a prescription.
Well, I've never tried it.
Look at the difference in the amount of medicine in the leading pain relievers.
There's more medicine in extra strength Tylenol. I'd like to try extra strength Tylenol. I feel great. I really do. This extra strength Tylenol really works, so obviously I'm going to use it.
Extra strength Tylenol, aspirin-free, and you can't buy a more potent pain reliever without a prescription.
6 men were arraigned in El Salvador court today in connection with the murders 14 months ago of 4 American churchwomen. Gary Shepard has that story.
The 6 suspects were taken under heavy guard into criminal court in the town of Zacatecoluca, 24 miles from San Salvador, to make their first official appearances before the judge handling the case. Each was discharged from the National Guard earlier this week and then arrested as a civilian because Salvadoran law does not permit members of the armed forces to be charged with murder. After completing his interrogation of the former soldiers and examining the physical evidence, the judge will have 72 hours to decide whether to hold the suspects for further investigation. An indictment and trial could be months away. It was in December of 1980 that the 4 churchwomen disappeared as they returned in this van from El Salvador's International Airport. Mary Knoll's sisters Ida Ford and Maura Clark, both of New York City, Ursuline's sister Dorothy Kazel, and lay worker Jean Donovan, both of Cleveland. Their bodies were found 2 days later in a shallow grave. All 4 had been shot to death. At least 1 had been raped. 2 of them were buried here in El Salvador, their funeral attended by then U.S. Ambassador Robert White. He told CBS News today he believes high-ranking Salvadoran military officers ordered the nuns' murder and that the 6 suspects merely carried it out.
I don't think that the Salvadoran military will permit it. I don't think that they will permit a fair trial and witnesses called that could implicate people higher up.
The U.S. Embassy has been putting heavy pressure on Salvadoran authorities for action on the nuns' case, but legal observers here wonder whether prosecutors will ever get convictions. They say the system of justice in this country doesn't function anymore, that judges, fearing they'll be killed, are afraid to try anyone. The present judge assigned to the nuns' case is the 3rd since last year. His predecessor resigned only last week, explaining he wasn't feeling very well. Gary Shepard, CBS News, San Salvador.
American military aid to El Salvador this year is $85 million, including $55 million President Reagan proposed 2 weeks ago. This assistance is designed to halt a leftist insurgency Mr. Reagan claims is getting much of its help through Nicaragua. A 1979 civil war in Nicaragua put the Marxist Sandinistas in power and at odds with the United States. As Charles Gomez reports from Nicaragua, the government there wants to improve relations with Washington, but not at any cost.
The Nicaraguan army remains on full alert, for defending the Sandinista revolution is an obsession. The Reagan administration believes this strong force is the greatest threat to other Central American nations, especially Costa Rica and Honduras. So great a threat that some officials in Washington have even recommended a naval blockade. These troops are members of an elite border patrol unit in the mountains of northwest Nicaragua, part of the professional 25,000-man army. They are supported by as many as 60,000 militiamen, peasants trained in military tactics and Marxist ideology. The Sandinistas claim they are merely defending their country from counter-revolutionaries, trained in camps in the United States and based in the mountains of Honduras. This post overlooks the Honduran border. It is one of several such posts the Sandinistas have built to repel the counter-revolutionary threat. These men say 3 of their comrades were killed in a skirmish just a few days ago. They also say they killed 3 of the attackers, members of the National Guard of the late dictator Anastasio Somoza. Anxious to demonstrate goodwill and intentions, the leftist government invited a group of sympathetic Americans to Nicaragua. Former U.S. Attorney General Ramsey Clark leads the delegation on a tour of a military training camp. He is encouraged to talk to the peasant soldiers who tell him they are happier and safer now than they have ever been. But one man, a teacher, confirms the presence of many Cubans in his home village. Sandinista army leaders try to minimize the importance of such foreigners in their country. They profess a desire for friendship with the United States, but they say they will never compromise their hard-won leftist victory. Charles Gomez, CBS News, Mata de Plátano, Nicaragua.
There are reports from Syria tonight of heavy fighting in the city of Hama between government forces and Muslim rebels. One report says it was an uprising against Syrian President Assad, and there was an unusual intensity of violence. An anti-Syrian radio broadcast from Iraq claimed that more than 1,000 people were killed. In Washington, a State Department spokesman confirmed the reports of, quote, serious disturbances in Hama and said the city reportedly had been sealed off. The United States is adopting a tougher policy line toward Israel. This today from a senior official traveling in the Middle East with Defense Secretary Weinberger. This unidentified official said, quote, we simply have to balance our interests throughout the entire Middle East. Weinberger arrived in Jordan for a meeting with King Hussein. The Defense Secretary said the U.S. Congress will be asked to lift its ban on the sale to Jordan of mobile anti-aircraft missiles. This is necessary, Weinberger said, to keep Jordan from drifting into the Soviet camp. Earlier today, Weinberger visited the U.S. aircraft carrier Constellation near the entrance to the Persian Gulf. While aboard, 2 Soviet reconnaissance planes approached the carrier but were escorted away by F-14 jet fighters based on the ship. But Weinberger never saw them.
Pontiac announces cash bonuses on these exciting new Pontiacs. $750 on any Phoenix, $750 on any J2000, $500 on any T1000, and $500 on any Pontiac 6000. Just take delivery between now and March 31. Pontiac will send you a check. See your participating Pontiac dealer who's contributing to these bonuses, and let's get moving. Now the excitement really begins.
If you're like most families, you go through a lot of bathroom tissue, and there's nothing you can do about it. But there is something you can do about the price you pay for it. You can buy decorative Coronet. You see, Coronet believes you should get a lot, not pay a lot. So Soft Coronet comes in a money-saving 8-pack, America's largest seller. Face it, high prices you can live without. Bathroom tissue you can't. Hey, you, outside! Extra value is what you get when you buy Coronet.
Hard to believe, but there were more than 52,000 motor vehicle deaths in this country during 1980, and safety officials predict the number could climb to more than 70,000 a year by the end of the decade. In an effort to stem that rising tide, a government agency crash tests automobiles. But as Meredith Vieira reports, there was something different about today's test.
This 2-car collision is brought to you courtesy of the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. Today, for the first time ever, the government opened up its crash testing program to the press. But it was the auto manufacturers that came to take notes. They have long been critical of the government tests, especially those whose cars have received poor grades. The government ran 3 crashworthiness tests, including this one on an 82 Volvo. Its speed upon impact, 35 miles per hour. This is the speed at which the government says half the fatal accidents on the highway occur. The Volvo and the dummies were wired up. Using a computer, researchers will rate just how well the car did and how much the dummies suffered. The government plans to run the test on 24 different cars at a cost of $50,000 a car.
If crash testing is a valid form of comparing the performance of cars, then we will in fact be giving people the opportunity in this information that we are now releasing to make judgments as to major differences among cars.
The government told us this would be a dramatic demonstration, and standing 50 feet away from a car when it crashes into a barrier certainly is dramatic. But some members of the auto industry claim that this test, and the government's testing program in general, is more show than substance.
The data that you get from this crash testing is just so variable and has no real proven relationship to real safety, so that you have the real risk of misleading people.
In order to quiet the critics, the government says it will take 12 identical cars and put them through the same test. If all the test results are similar, government spokesmen say that will prove its test program is valid. As for the Volvo, it made out pretty well in the crash test, but the final results won't be in for a few days, and until then, one company spokesman said he'd rather withhold comment. Meredith Vieira, CBS News, Columbus, Ohio.
Former Health Secretary Joseph Califano said cigarette smoking is the largest preventable cause of death in America. And through the years, medical researchers have offered widely publicized reasons for avoiding cigarettes. Now, as Charles Crawford reports, they're adding another one: radiation.
And I sit here and try to convince that person to stop smoking. The forces are against me. It's very hard to do.
So, Dr. Thomas Winters and a colleague at the University of Massachusetts Medical Center did what a lot of angry Americans do. They wrote a letter to the editor, in this case to the New England Journal of Medicine. The letter warns that there may be a significant risk of lung cancer, not only for smokers, but also for non-smokers who inhale cigarette smoke. Winters cites studies done as far back as 1964, showing that tobacco plants grown with phosphate fertilizers contain radioactive polonium-210.
We're saying that there's another element in tobacco that is helping induce or promote or initiate the lung cancer.
Fact: radioactive polonium-210 is found in tobacco and in the smoke from a burning cigarette. It is also fact that when the smoke is inhaled, bronchial surface cells are bombarded by the alpha-emitting particles. The theory is that the radioactive smoke may be a triggering event, producing a subtle change in the bronchial cells, and that the constant radiation exposure ultimately results in lung cancer. A recent government study reports a person smoking a pack and a half a day is exposed to a radiation dose equal to 300 chest X-rays in 1 year.
However, the American Tobacco Institute says the idea that radioactive particles in cigarette smoke are harmful is just an idea, not a fact.
We don't have any definitive evidence that this is in fact harmful. And I think to talk about product changes without some sort of proof is pretty valueless.
Nevertheless, the most recent Surgeon General's report concludes it may be prudent to reduce the amount of polonium-210 in tobacco products. Charles Crawford, CBS News, Worcester, Massachusetts.
Former Secretary of State Henry Kissinger is reported in excellent condition tonight after 4 hours of open heart surgery today. He underwent a triple bypass operation at Boston's Massachusetts General Hospital.
These are sheet fabric softeners. You put them in your dryer once and they do one load. This is Free and Soft, the revolutionary fabric softener. You put it in once and it does a month's worth of soft, static-free clothes. You attach Free and Soft to your dryer like this. Then every time you use your dryer, clothes come out soft and static-free. No sheet softeners stop static better. The choice is yours. Once a load softeners or Free and Soft, the once-a-month fabric softener.
Honey, breakfast!
Great coffee.
Yeah, it's Maxwell House Master Blend.
Oh, isn't that supposed to save us money?
Mm-hmm. It only tastes expensive.
Master Blend, a special blend of 100% coffee we make a special way so you can save money. Master Blend, it only tastes expensive.
A federal grand jury late today found 3 former McAllen, Texas police officers not guilty of civil rights violations. The 3 were charged with manhandling a suspect arrested for drunken driving on October 23, 1978. Police videotapes of that incident received national attention. The United States Senate today unanimously gave final congressional approval to an extra $2.3 billion to fight unemployment. Also passed was an additional $123 million to help the poor and the aged pay their heating bills. President Reagan's new budget wants to cut back this heating program, and that was the subject of a House hearing today. Bill Lynch was there.
For millions of Americans, like the Weber family on Chicago's South Side, the winter of '82 means extra misery. Record low temperatures on top of record high fuel costs have made heat the biggest monthly expense.
I can't even pay the gas bill and rent in this apartment building. You know, you get a strong wind, the rug comes right up off the floor. get a $183 gas bill for 1 month.
In Philadelphia, the city-owned gas company is currently denying service to 6,000 homes. One 77-year-old woman living on Social Security saw her gas bill double last month to $514. For other needy people, the price is higher. It's estimated more than 200 Americans have died this winter for lack of heat. When oil price controls were lifted in 1977, Congress softened the blow on the poor with special energy payments. Last year, over President Reagan's objections, Congress appropriated $1.9 billion. The new Reagan budget would cut that by 30%.
The federal participation in this should be at a level of $1.3 billion, recognizing the competing priorities of the various things within the budget.
I see tough as the answer, just tough.
At a House hearing today, the administration spokeswoman made no mention of the human side of the problem, saying that's for the states to decide.
I began to wonder what's happening to the American dream. A lot of our old senior citizens are suffering now like they never suffered before.
Subcommittee Chairman Phil Sharp predicted Congress will reject the administration's proposed cut as an attack on the social safety net and a breach of the social contract made with the poor when oil prices were raised. Bill Lynch, CBS News, Washington.
Bill Moyers, in his commentary tonight, looks at the partisan political aspects of Reaganomics. Bill?
I'm overcome with déjà vu watching our broadcast this week. Déjà vu is French for here come the Democrats. It happened first when I saw these old familiar faces on the screen. Speaker of the House, Tip O'Neill, and just behind them, the Democratic leader of the House, Jim Wright, lamenting the fate of the Republic under Reaganomics. Look closely and behold the manner of two nephews at the funeral of a rich uncle. They must appear not to enjoy the occasion too much, but while they seem to be grieving, they are really gloating. They are gloating because they believe Ronald Reagan's policies threaten economic collapse. And therein lies the Democrats' road back to power, as it did in the beginning in the year of our Lord Roosevelt, 1932. That's politics, you say. One party returns to power upon the misfortune of another. So it is. But if we the people had longer memories, I wonder if we would not demand more of our politicians and ourselves than simply replacing the failing ideas of the party in power with the failed ideas of the party out of power. A long memory in this case goes back only 2 years. Remember how just about everybody was saying in 1980 that Democrats could no longer govern, that they knew only how to tax and spend, spend and tax? Hundreds of billions of dollars, a huge bureaucracy, the tax rates burgeoning, inflation soaring to double digits. Still, our inner cities remain blighted, housing grew scarce, the economy slowed down, and welfare dependency mounted into the fourth generation. In the fall of 1979, a nonpartisan group called the Advisory Commission on Intergovernmental Relations put out this report, saying that American government had become an unaccountable morass, a system whose good intentions were producing shameful consequences, one worthy experiment after another ending up as failures which no one would terminate. Ronald Reagan was elected to do something about all that. He has run aground with his big defense budget, tax cuts, and deficits. But Democrats in this Congress contributed to those too. So before they hoop it up on the warpath for Mr. Reagan's scalp, they might first sit quietly around the party campfire and think about what made him chief in the first place.
It's the oldest question in the world.
What'll I have for dinner?
Well, Stouffer's has more than 40 different answers. 9 chicken dishes, 13 beef, 8 Italian dishes. We've got crepes, Chinese dishes, Japanese, Swedish, and of course, American. So if you're looking for answers, you ought to be looking at Stouffer's.
I know what I'm having for dinner. Stouffer's.
Set yourself free. Set yourself free with Stouffer's.
Some careless soul once observed, there's no such thing as bad publicity. But that's not how they feel about it in a New England city Bernard Goldberg visited.
If you check the new Rand McNally Almanac of the best places to live in America, you'll find this town, Haverhill, Massachusetts. You'll find it last, dead last, 277th out of 277.
To have everyone across the country looking at us and wondering if we really are the worst city in the United States, I think is outrageous. I think it was.
Bill Ryan is one mayor who just as soon Rand McNally hadn't put his town on the map.
Haverhill is not the best place, and it's not the worst place. It's middle America.
So, how did it happen? In a word, statistics. Rand McNally scored every metro area in the country on things like housing and taxes and economic prospects and schools and health care, and concluded that, taken all together, any place, absolutely any place, is better than this place. Try telling that to Irving Corellis, the jeweler.
I mean, it's unbelievable because the people here love their city. I love my town. Haverhill's a great city.
Okay, so it's not Acapulco, but it's not Calcutta either. There are some beautiful old homes, and a senior center, and a pretty nice library. And that's not all.
We've got beautiful people. Many of us like...
Excuse me, what does that say over there?
That's a yacht club. That's the Crescent Yacht Club.
You've got a yacht club in Haverhill?
Right here in Haverhill.
This is the worst town in America, right?
And we've got a yacht club here.
But they've also got this, which is one reason that Haverhill, along with neighboring Lawrence, finished last. They're old mill towns whose future, the almanac says, is in the past. And on top of that, the book also says that property taxes are high, public school funding low, public transportation minimal, and when it comes to culture, the almanac says, Haverhill doesn't have much. When Bruce Merrill hears all that, he gets downright snippy.
This is heaven. This is the best town, could be the best town in America.
They don't agree. Why not? Because they wrote the book.
You're saying that when you take all the categories together and you take all the statistics, you're saying Haverhill is a dump.
Yeah. We don't deny that Haverhill is 30 miles from Boston. You can go in and watch the professional football, and you can take in the museums and the theaters. The only problem with that is that you have to come back.
Those are fighting words in this town that's just 30 miles from where the American Revolution began. But this time they say the shot heard round the world is a cheap shot. Bernard Goldberg, CBS News, Haverhill, Massachusetts.
Incidentally, the Rand McNally Almanac ranks Atlanta as the best place to live in the United States. Dan Rather, good night.
Which will give out first? Your old car? Or your money?
It's gonna cost you.
Don't wait to find out. Right now, American Motors wants to save you money on the new car you need. Until March 31st, American Motors will give you up to $800 over dealer trade-in for your car. And the older it is, the more it's worth. We'll even help if you don't have a trade, because American Motors wants you to have a new car.
Now till February 13th at Sears, the fitness store. Save $50 on Sears 1,000-pound total capacity weight bench. Save $20 on our 177-pound weight set. Or save $30 on Sears 20-inch exercise wheel cycle. Save $30 on a Lifestyler 1000 home fitness system. Save 20% on Wilson sweat separates. For fun, fitness, and savings, you can count on Sears.
From around the world and from CBS News headquarters in New York, this has been the CBS Evening News with Dan Rather. This is CBS.
The two murders at Brushy Mountain Prison brought a call today for a federal investigation. And Eyewitness News has learned of a study that shows an increase in your water sewer rates won't be needed for at least 3 years. Those stories coming up next on Eyewitness News. Where's your birthday, boy?
It's a special day in a child's life, all too quickly gone. But it will never be forgotten, thanks in part to the miracle of flash photography. And this strong, ultra-clear plastic, invented by Phillips Petroleum, that helps make flash